but it is a nice add-on, and I do want to make sure we speak positively about her because I do think this is a very good champion. Hey, welcome back to the channel. All right, it's time for the next entrance into the rank 3 worthy video series. I'm very excited for this. This is Angela. I know a lot of you have requested this. I'm actually very curious about taking her up to rank 3 myself. For those of you who are new to the series, what I do is I take a champion who I think, a lot of us are going to question, are they rank 3 worthy? And we're going to take them through their paces. All of these fights, you will see I have put on a 30% champion boost of my own. This is on the live server. I really want to test this and give you like my opinion on it and see what it would be like. And then we're going to, like I said, test them and then of course evaluate them at the end and look at it through 3 different lenses and frame the question in 3 different ways. One for an account who is looking to get their first rank 3 so they can get Thronebreaker. A more moderate account, let's say you've got like 3 to 10 rank 3s or something like that, evaluating that, things to be aware of. And then of course your, let's call them top shelf accounts or something like that, someone with just a multitude of rank 3s, things to think about, especially now that we're seeing some more of those rank 4 potential materials come into the game, and just ways to frame that question. All right, with this video in particular, I think it's important that we start off talking about her SIG ability, and then we will jump into the fights. All right, if we're going to be covering Angela, a lot of it is about her SIG, and I think we need to start off with that, and it's really going to color a lot of this video and the ultimate analysis. So we're going to start off with this, and then we will jump directly into the fights so that you know what you're watching. My Angela is a SIG 102. Put a couple 6 stones in her to get these numbers to over 25%. Meaning that when I have 4 buffs, her opponents will suffer a minus 25% or actually over 100%. Nullify and auto block ability accuracy. We're going to take her onto a buffet lane. Some things pretty interesting, actually a little bit disappointing, but we will get into that. And then similar here with the damaging debuff duration. This was actually very exciting, very intriguing, and I think very worthwhile. And we will get into that, but keep that in mind so that when you're watching this video, this is a SIG 102 Angela, meaning that when she has the 4 buffs, we should be over 100%. And we'll look at various fights where we see how this works out when she has less than 4 and so on. All right, one of the best ways to test her ability to get rid of the damaging debuffs or shorten their duration is going to be on this Biohazard lane. This is Act 7.1. We're going to be looking at 2 fights on here. One is going to be with just one of the Odin pre-fights, and then the other fight's going to be with all 3 of them. So you can see the difference in getting this started. Remember, this is SIG 102, so when we have 4 buffs, there should be no duration to those damaging debuffs. You still will see the text show up on the left-hand side. She is excellent with suicides for a couple of reasons. As you saw there, if you're patient at the start of the fight, you'll actually lose enough health that your heal will kick in, which means you have an additional buff. And then of course, once you get the dexterity buff, which you will lose, but you've then got 4 buffs and you can really start getting into the damage cycle. I'm going to end up cutting this fight short because there's just a lot of fights to show. But the essence I wanted to show here is how quickly and with about how many buffs you can get started in and shorten the duration. The other thing I did want to show is depending on how high the SIG is, you might not need those Odin pre-fights. I know he's very new into the game. Very few people have him. But you probably do have a Heimdall. You could bring that along if you wanted. That will be helpful as you can get that nice Fury to go. We're going to take a look at this exact same fight, but this time I'm going to trigger all 3 of the Odin pre-fights, and you're going to see that we're going to be able to get right into the damage absolutely right away. The other thing I'm going to do here, and this is what I wanted to test, is we're going to take her all the way to her SP3. We're going to trigger the aptitudes and everything here and see if that increases her damage. I know traditionally what you did with Angela is you would kind of play between 1 bar of power and 2 bars of power. You're trying to access that Fury and keep it alive and keep it up as much as possible. Additionally, she's got the additional crit rate on her heavy, and so you're going to see me throw in a lot of heavies here and the damage it can do. You saw the crit there. The initial crit was only about 3,500. We're going to start seeing some significantly larger numbers. The other thing I noticed is the 5-hit combo is not too bad. In fact, look at this. I mean, that was a 7,300 light, I guess it was maybe a medium crit, but you saw some 5300s there and an 89, 82 medium enders. That's some pretty good damage out of a 5-hit combo. Unfortunately, her specials don't do much damage though, and that's so different than most of the champions we're working with. I knew that they weren't going to be great. That being said, I was a little disappointed with them, and it feels very unsatisfying to throw them. I kept having to remind myself of how much her utility she has, and that there's a lot there. You see, we got these really huge aptitudes, and if you can get to the Furies quickly enough, you will start to see some uptick in the damage, as you see right here as we get to it. It's a nice heavy. It was a heavy for about 29,000 damage. That's solid. I'll take that. I'll take that any day when you have the utility that she's bringing forth. And as you can see, these bleeds that are triggering on the left-hand side, absolutely no damage is being done from them at all. Ultimately, she handles these lanes very well. Biohazard, anything that's putting a lot of damaging debuff on you, she can take them, she can handle them. The thing's going to be getting your sig up high enough that you can access those buffs quickly enough that you can survive the fight and let your healing kick in to replenish the health that you've lost while you're getting those buffs going. All right, now it's time for us to take a look at how she handles Nullify and Auto Block. We're not going to address the Auto Block because I think you know what that means. I think you understand if you have enough buffs, you can take care of the Auto Block ability. And that's really nice. It's helpful with a variety of champions, MCoC, Iron Man, Infinity War, so on and so forth. So I'm not trying to minimize that, but I do want to focus on something that I've discovered that was really disappointing to me. We're going to look at her and how she handles Buffet. Remember, the opponent is suffering from the following. A minus, in this case, 25.12 Nullify ability accuracy, meaning that if I have 4 buffs, they should not be able to nullify any of them, right? Well, here we are, we have Buffet, which is technically a Nullify. This is the first fight on this lane. I have triggered all of the Odin pre-fights, meaning I thought that would mean that there would be 4 buffs right away. That's not how the game's tabulating it or how it's calculating it. The way they're tabulating it is, I guess, is that they're all triggering at the same time. Every single fight I took on this lane, all of the buffs were gone, meaning not only is Silver Warrior getting the heal, but he's already healed up, so it's not really that big of a deal. But I don't have those buffs throughout the duration of this fight. It's something to really keep in mind if you were playing it, especially like you were taking into war, or maybe the fight was going to be later in on a quest or something like that. I was really disappointed in how that worked out, because to me, that I would just start the fight with those buffs, and they would work with her Nullify ability there, or the duration, or whatever. You understand the defender's ability accuracy of Nullify. The good news is you can see that she's actually handling it now. We're up to 5 buffs, and every time we trigger a new one, nothing bad's going to happen. The Buffet is not triggering or anything like that. We're going to take a look at a fight later in the path, though, because I want to show you the ramp that you're getting from the Odin synergy that is coming along with her. And you're going to see there's times where we have 3 buffs and things like that, and the Buffet still is triggering. Of course, that makes sense. It's RNG. Sometimes it's going to happen. And sometimes we have 3 and it does not trigger. But really, I had to show you this, and I'm really glad that I went back and tested it. Here we are. This is later in the quest. We're about 5 fights in. This is the other thing that was honestly a little disappointing. It made sense when I thought it through, but I was disappointed by it. Again, I don't want to harp on it too much, but our buffs were nullified in the very beginning. The Buffet triggered, so now I don't have those buffs. The other thing is she has that nice synergy with Odin. And don't get me wrong, I'll take it. It's great. It's better than using like a 20% attack boost or something like that. But we're about 4 or 5 fights into this quest now. And her damage is good. I mean, the final hit of that heavy, I think, just did 12,000. So I'm not complaining. It's just not as big of a boost as I was hoping for. I mean, that was what, a 17, 18,000 heavy attack. But earlier in this exact same video, I think we saw a heavy attack for about 29. And that's with those Odin buffs being on her. So keep these sorts of things in mind. I don't think these are like, you know, this doesn't kill the champion. It doesn't ruin her value, but it's not as great as I thought or had hoped it would be. Maybe you were already expecting that, in which case, hey, it's all good, right? And also, I think the more important thing to focus on here is this is event quest, right? This isn't a lane that's benefiting her or her skill set. This is the tech lane. And I think she's going to finish this fight in about 36 hits. That's not bad. So that would be about a rank 3 handling that fight. Okay, here's another piece of her utility, and this has absolutely nothing to do with her SIG. So I think it was important for us to cover this in the next part. She's an excellent Havoc counter. And it's not so much that she's a great Havoc counter. I mean, he's just one defender in the game. You should have an answer for him. He's in places, he's tough. But it's more, why is she a great Havoc counter? She's a great Havoc counter because she does have the ability to constantly keep up an armor buff, which is a big deal. We do see nodes and defenders and things like that where having an armor up buff or buffs in general are really, really helpful, right? She has access to quite a few, as we're seeing. The other thing is, and this has nothing to do with her SIG, this is just part of her kit, is her ability to parry non-contact attacks. I know a lot of us, I know even me, it's been a while now, have learned how to reparry, and that makes a huge difference to be able to play this game and take certain fights. Trust me, it does. That being said, I'm sure you can think of times, even if you know how to reparry, where the defender keeps going in and they go medium, 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 heavy, medium, medium, and all of a sudden you're backed up at the end of the map. Being able to parry the non-contact attack, it's not a nothing. In fact, it's definitely a thing. And she just has it, she accesses it, she does not need a certain SIG to access it. I don't know. I think that's worth pointing out. It's not just great for Havoc. There's other champions like this in the game. There's nodes like this. It can happen. And as we're seeing, she's doing some pretty good damage. This is Axe 7.1. Remember, this is a rank 2 with a 30% boost on. And we're gonna get him down here. Don't be too misled by the healing. Some of this is the willpower healing coming from his, I believe it's a plasma debuff or something like that. But she is healing. The healing is there. It will more than make up for the suicides you have damaging yourself as you go through the fights. It's a 9k crit medium there. That's, again, not nothing. That heavy is doing about 18,000. So as you can see, we don't have the Odin buffs on us right now. Those are nice. They're very helpful. I do think he's a great travel partner for her. And we do have her pretty much loaded up on a Angela team, but she can handle these paths by herself. She did the buffet path just fine. In fact, she even took out the Captain America Infinity War boss there, even though you couldn't do damage on basic attacks, only on special. So she can do a lot. I don't want to make her sound like she can't. And then this one was cool. I know some people have already thought of it, but she handles Gimme so well, right? You need to be regenerating to do the damage. This fight gets a little closer than I would like because of the heal reversal that's sometimes there due to the node. But this is Axe 7.1, and she could handle this lane like a champ too. So we need to be healing up, and she's going to be constantly healing because she's constantly losing life, right? It's for every I believe it's 10% of life lost. Even that's not taking into account to your willpower healing. So your health bar is not going to go down 10%. That's a very cool interaction that didn't go the way I would have assumed. So I don't know if it completely makes up for the way that buffet node is working, but it is a nice add-on. And I do want to make sure we speak positively about her because I do think this is a very good champion. All right, after this fight, we're gonna take a quick look at the synergies that I was utilizing and then talk about her for the different styles of accounts. Okay, this one's a big one, especially if your Angela is not a very high SIG. Being able to get this buff pretty much on demand and then have it be the Fury buff, which is helping your damage, was a really, really big deal. You saw how much having the buffs and with the SIG makes a huge difference in the utility that she's presenting. The next one here is, of course, Odin. We talked a little bit about this synergy here in the buffet lanes. It was nice. This is not a nothing, right? You're only 4 fights in and your buff potency is 20%. That's a big deal. I mean, think about that as in regard to a boost and how and when you would use that and the differences you see and coming from it. It wasn't as great as I had wanted it to be, but I think that's coloring a lot of my feelings and thoughts in Angela, and we'll talk about that in the next section here. And then we had the synergy with Mr. Fantastic for some of them. I did like this, especially if I was doing the 5-hit combos. I just felt like it was pausing the buffs longer and more than if I was concentrating on the heavy, which does have the higher crit rate, which does help trigger the buffs. So there was a trade-off there as well. The Warrior Queens here with Morningstar, buffs lasting 20% longer, of course. Fantastic fantastic. Morningstar is a quality champion, especially willing to ramp her up. But I don't know how much you're doing that on the same quest. Like, why would you be taking Angela on this quest, on this path, and wanting to bring synergies for her, and then also simultaneously ramping up Morningstar? That being said, especially because of her heal, Angela was able to handle most of the paths on her own. It wasn't really an issue on the things I tested her on. And then this last one with Aegon, again, you're not ramping him up. This almost feels very similar to the Morningstar discussion that we just had, but a 25% potency to Fury effects, kind of a big deal. I think very helpful to her damage. I don't think any of these were necessary, especially if you have her at a high enough sig, because as we'll talk about in the next section, I really do think it's the sig that's going to cause you to be excited about this champion and want to rank her up as a long-term rank 3 for your account. Okay, so if we analyze this as someone who's looking to get Thronebreaker, they feel like this is the best champion that they have, I think go for it. I do. I say that with a little bit of hesitation, and I think you could probably pick up on that throughout the video. She does have really nice utility without the sig ability, right? The pairing of projectile attacks, there's an armor break. She does get a lot of buffs, so you could take it buffed up and things like that. The damage is not amazing, but it's respectable. And then also, you always could sig her up if you awaken her, or she already is awakened. You could put in those 6 stones if you want to. She's not a prestige monster, so keep that in mind. But I do think she's likely worthwhile, and I think if you accept what she is when you rank her up, you probably have the ability to make her even better as your account goes on and you spend more and more time in this game. All right, for your advanced accounts, honestly, I think this one, I'm always one to say, have fun. It's a game. Just make sure you're having fun still 2 or 3 days after you've ranked up this champion. For you all in this situation, I really have a lot of caution. I'm not going with the full on no, but it's definitely not a yes, do it. It is exciting. And this is why, I have the sense that you probably already have a champion that can get rid of debuffs. You probably already have a champion that can heal. You probably already have a champion that gets buffs. Her armor break is very, very short. I don't think it's a reliable piece of utility. You probably either know how to reparry, or you have someone who could parry the projectiles. And her sig is a huge, huge price. Remember, we're talking about 6 stars here. We're talking about 6 stars. We're talking about rank 3 6 stars. That is a lot. That is a lot right now. And chances are you're probably working on your prestige, or you have other maybe superior champions who you're working on those 6 levels with. So I'm not saying don't do it. I'm not saying you're crazy. I'm just saying really keep this in mind. Do you really need or want her? Does she add something to your account? What is she adding to your account? Is there something that you need? If so, go for it. And then also, are you willing to pay that price? Not only to rank up resources, but then you're going to find yourself wanting to get that sig higher. Now, maybe you'll figure out ways to play her more at that sig 40 or sig 60 level. Check Aunt May, the website. Look at what the percentage is as you increase her sig level and see, am I comfortable with that? Is that where I would be able to utilize her? That would be my advice. I do think she's a very good champion. Once you get that sig up, the sig is just a really expensive resource-wise. All right, and then for your top shelf accounts, or your massive accounts, I'll just tell you what I'm doing. As you can see, for fun, yeah, if you're having fun and you really enjoy her, go for it. Does this really help your account? I'm thinking it probably does not. You probably have champions that do this already. And then do you potentially, though, already have her at a high sig? I already had her at sig 100, I believe, or 80, something in there. And then I threw in the 102 to get her to that 25%. So that way with the 4 buffs, I could feel confident utilizing that sig ability. I was really excited about her. I was pretty much ready to rank 3 her at a few times, but had a little bit of hesitation. Yes, she did well in the poll where I asked you all who you wanted to see. So this wasn't just about myself, but I was genuinely testing her for my account. and I'm not taking her up. I'm not going to do it. I'm not saying I never will. Maybe a node or a quest or a AQ lane, or maybe I'll take some fights in an Alliance War where they ask me like, hey, you know, do you think Angela could do this? And then I will have a use for her. So therefore she would be too helping my account. And I do find her fun, kinda. I didn't really enjoy heavying as much. I already have champions that do that, particularly with Magneto. I did like the healing. I don't know. There just wasn't a lot that I overly enjoyed. She really would not help my account. I already have champions that do this, but I do have her at a high sig. I think I could see myself bringing her up, but I have my eye more towards future champions like Hercules and things like that that may come into the game and be fun. And I don't think our fours are around the corner. I think it's going to be a bit. We didn't get that much in the way of rank up resources, but we did get them. And so I am starting to keep my eye towards rank 4, and that is starting to be part of my evaluation process, because if I'm using the tier 5 CC on this champion, that's more tier 5C. I need to start saving up before I can possibly rank 4 a champion, because you do need them. We're early in that process. I don't think we need to be freaked out about it or have it weighing on us, you know, every day like these MCoC decisions tend to. But me personally, I'm not bringing her up unless I really need her for war or something happens with AQ or some sort of content. I didn't like this. This was the first one. This was the first one we've tested where they actually were not as good as I hoped they would be. Now, maybe it's because my hopes and my ideas were too high for her, and maybe that's what's happened here, and that's why you're seeing some disappointment. But it is disappointment. That is what you're seeing. I do think she can be an excellent champion. Just make sure you're willing to pay that price to get that sig up, if that's the part of her that you're going to be using. And honestly, I think that's by far her best part. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think. What do you think I got right? What do you think I got wrong? And as always, I'm always taking suggestions for the next champion for us to review. Take care. I hope you either learned something, were entertained, or even better, a little bit of both. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.